Good morning out there, traders. It is April 17th, 2024, and welcome to the Apteros Daily Market Insight. Let's dive into our recap, and then we'll update our session plan levels for today. So taking a look at what was going on yesterday, we had a bearish line in the sand with scenario 1 being a hold down below, scenario 2 being a breakout up above, and we are essentially monitoring the what is picture in terms of acceptance around this area. I was mentioning in the DMI that even at this area here, the acceptance picture wasn't all the way through that line in the sand, so we were still bearish in scenario 1 at that point. And coming into the open, we ended up seeing a real nice move to the downside, a pullback right back into our line in the sand, and continuation to our first target area. So all of these opportunities in terms of inflections at the highs, right? Inflections at the highs were chances to get short and get to this first target area here. We get another major pullback here, and once again, more inflections to get back down into here, more inflections to get back down into here. A probe up, but it doesn't shift, right? The acceptance picture doesn't change here. Continuation back to the downside and continuation back to the downside. So really what we had was a bearish line in the sand with many opportunities at the highs to get rotation and MFE down in our favor. We never really reached our overall destination or our overall target, but we struck this first neutral area several times during the session to get really good scales and some decent, movement out of this particular trade idea. So a lot of opportunity throughout the day. This day just ended up going balanced, and it didn't really break one way or the other. But we had the rotational highs in play with our line in the sand, and that was kind of the main trade idea for the session going along with scenario 1. So now we're taking a look at what's going on today. And today we have a nice line in the sand for the early part of the session here. This is our main line in the sand for today, with scenario 1 being a hold up above that, scenario 2 being a breakdown from that zone. Now with scenario 1, we can have a little bit of let's just say a gauge on volatility, maybe a gauge on breaking away from value with this upper neutral zone. So let's talk about scenario 1 a little bit more detailed here. With scenario 1, we're looking for a bullish hold of this area. Now we rotated, we built some value yesterday, and if we get up above this neutral zone, that becomes a departure from yesterday's value. So this becomes a little bit more of a bullish context up in this area here, right? In this area between the neutral zone and the bullish zone, we're back inside of balance again, right? So this particular neutral zone, as long as we hold below it, it's got a little bit more of a bearish skew. If we hold above it, it becomes a little bit more bullish in its skew. Right now, it's neutral because the bigger trade ideas and the bigger things that are going on around it really are around this line in the sand in this area up here, right? So that's kind of the bigger, higher time frame stuff. But this neutral zone here, depending on where price is accepted, it's got a little bit of a bias to it for today. So just keep that in mind. So right now, it's a little bit more of a bearish skew because we haven't pushed outside of it and held up above it, right? But if we start to hold up above it, things get a little bit more bearish up into these two neutral zones, especially into that overall stretch target, which is that bearish zone up above there, okay? So that's a little bit of nuance around scenario 1. So just to recap scenario 1 a little bit, scenario 1 is a hold up above the line in the sand. In this zone here, it's a little bit more of a choppy expectation. But if we clear out from this neutral zone and above, then it becomes a little bit more bullish as we head up into these upper neutral areas, okay? With scenario 2, it's pretty straightforward, actually. If we hold in here, come down, test this area, and break to the downside, something like that, then we would be essentially looking at scenario 2, and the trade opportunities would come from the other side of this line in the sand, and really just one target down below here would be the main target area for the session. So what you see here are the main trade ideas with their targets and overall destinations. What I mean by that is scenario 2's main target is down here at this neutral zone, and scenario 1 main target is up here into this bearish area. Now this bearish area, we definitely have to watch for inflections at the downside, but for today's session, it's essentially just a target zone for us, and then we'll monitor that probably into the overnight and into tomorrow. But it is a bearish level because it's a higher time frame bearish zone that we have to pay attention to up here. All right, so that's kind of the overall landscape that we're seeing on the ES. And just to kind of, if we get an extreme day for whatever reason and things really start to move, we do have some things that we can use for even further stretch targets. We have an option up here if we really just start to push through this area into this neutral zone here. And of course, If we push through this neutral zone on the downside, we have another neutral level down here. And then from there, it's kind of wide open space again to the downside until we start running into some big higher time frame stuff that's a little bit further below. But for now, this is really the scope of what we're trying to keep our plan around, and that's really what we're looking for today. All right, so trade well out there, mind your process. Let's have a great trading day.